Hello and welcome to the socially distanced Firefly Studios London office. Nick here to give you one final siege weapon update before we catapult Stronghold Warlords from our digital trebuchets and onto your hard drives on January 26th, 2021. That's right, trebuchets, the ultimate Stronghold siege weapon is returning alongside some new unique war machines made possible through the introduction of gunpowder to the Stronghold series. The Stronghold games are first and foremost about castle management and city builder gameplay, with the lives of your peasants, their supply chains, jobs, the economy itself, and that all-important Vuzel factor all playing a part. In addition to the long-awaited return of siege towers and laddermen, which allow you to flood the enemy walls with troops of your own, we're also allowing you to defend and attack walls in some new, unique ways. So whether you're hoping to hold off would-be attackers or breach enemy lines, stick with me as we explore the remaining tools in your siege sandbox available at launch in Stronghold Warlords.
Okay, sure, there are admittedly other games with trebuchets.
Tell me though, how many of these games have multiple ammunition types for that trebuchet? And how many games allow you to catapult diseased and very nearly dead animals into an enemy keep to spread disease and corrupt their economy?
That's right, Stronghold Warlords will continue the long-held series tradition of allowing players to catapult all manner of objects through the air. And while the standard rock ammunition type once again returns for reliably taking down castle walls, towers and other defences at great range, we are once again mixing things up. Famous for their ability to launch a 95 kilogram stone projectile over 300 meters, which, again, you'll still be able to do in Warlords, don't worry about it. Our trebuchets can also be loaded up with either pigs or water buffalo. Spreading a small or large disease cloud respectively, our pig and buffalo ammunition may sound silly, but the disease they spread can mean certain death for soldiers and peasants unfortunate enough to be in the line of fire. Units that spend more than just a few seconds in a disease cloud will succumb to a gruesome fate, even by medieval standards. There are a few subtle differences here, aside from the slightly unsettling sounds, but it's really more about timing. After all, it takes longer to load up a poor water buffalo, so maybe think of the pig as your more rapid fire option here. So far, so Stronghold. With the addition of Water Buffalo, chosen by our very own official Stronghold Discord community, we're mixing things up a little on the animal ammunition front. But that's not all we have in store this time.
As we said before, Stronghold Warlords introduces gunpowder to the series for the very first time, and naturally, we couldn't resist adding a little historical flavour in the form of Thunder Crash bombs.
An explosive package used in the Song and Jin eras from the 12th century onwards, Thunder Crash bombs were effectively early cast iron grenades used in China.
Filled with gunpowder and lit with a fuse that could be adjusted according to its intended use. For instance, some people would actually throw these with their bare hands. We're really excited about this explosive new addition to the trebuchet ammo arsenal in Stronghold. Although they are able to damage, knock back, and indeed incinerate enemy troops, Thunder Crash bombs actually have a better use outside of being an anti-infantry device.
Launching 2 explosive bombs after a lengthy and quite careful reloading process, Thunder Crash ammo are best used to start fires within an enemy castle. By targeting areas of a player's economy without nearby water pots, or simply at a time when they're struggling to find workers to put out fires, bombs can be used to spread fire quickly and effectively. Catch your opponent off guard and you can ruin entire industries, thereby crippling their economy. Alternatively, simply use these fires to distract them from your main attacking force, as it punches a hole through their defences. However you decide to use them, this explosive new addition to your medieval arsenal should pave the way for more economy-crippling strategies in skirmish mode and multiplayer.
So, if you ever find yourself defending against an onslaught of Thunder Crash bombs, just remember one simple lesson. Water pots, they save lives. More powerful than their catapult counterparts, the Mortar is a brand new addition to the Stronghold series. Unlike the beloved Trebuchet, which has appeared in, I think, almost every single Stronghold game to date, the Mortar is very different in that it's an excellent anti-infantry weapon.
While you may assume that the mortar is your ticket to a quick castle breach, that job is actually better left to your catapults and trebuchets, with the mortar taking aim at softer objects, like soldiers. As you can imagine, firing a large cannonball at comparably squishy human beings is an effective in-game strategy, just as it would be in real life. With a longer reload time than the catapult, the mortar benefits from the same generous firing range, and, at least in the case of infantry, has a much higher DPS.
Another fun feature of the mortar is that its cannonballs can and will ricochet off its first target, producing a physics-based collision that can cause additional damage.
Cannonballs which target units or terrain will ricochet off the ground, dealing reduced damage to units they pass through. Once the cannonball's speed has sufficiently slowed down, units it passes through will then be nudged aside, but not damaged. So instead of the usual click and forget RTS gameplay, there are ramifications for each shot to think about, which leads to a more strategic thinking in the midst of combat. This means troops positioned below castle walls could take a second hit, siege weapons otherwise protected by a line of infantry suddenly become targets, and even farm workers are candidates for collateral damage.
So when taking aim, be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Always think about collateral damage.
I'm not gonna change it, why should I change it?
So you want collateral damage, huh? I give you fucking collateral damage.
Coming back to Stronghold staples, our beloved our beloved Ballista returns in Stronghold Warlords as both a form of castle attack and defense.
The very definition of big bolt energy, the Ballista fires large, powerful bolts and can be directed at enemy infantry and siege weapons. Unlike many of our gunpowder fueled siege weapons, it won't set fire to anything, but it'll sure as hell leave a dent. High damage and range mean Ballistae are your not-so-secret weapon for taking out enemy siege weapons. Armoured troops that pose a threat to your own forces become great targets, with the Ballista able to take out pesky Imperial guardsmen in a single shot, and deal high damage to tank units like the samurai. Like many siege weapons, its main weakness or vulnerability is becoming isolated in the middle of a conflict. With its slow reload, the Ballista is ineffective against fast, lightly armoured troops like the auxiliary axemen, and anything that can sneak up on it.
I await the unwary.
So long as you can defend this weapon long enough to keep it firing at such targets, it can neutralise high-level threats, assuring victory at a relatively early stage in a skirmish game. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about castle defense. In our previous siege defenses video, we discussed some of the ways that you're going to be able to defend your castle walls with some combination of barricades, gunpowder, and, yep, tigers.
What we didn't discuss, however, are the actual siege defences coming to Warlords. These structures will protect your perimeter and allow you to take out incoming siege vehicles before they have a chance to ruin your perfectly placed walls, towers, and gatehouses. Mangonels, hwacha, and the mounted ballista all feature as defensive structures in Stronghold Warlords, with the ability to attach each of these to a section of your castle walls and fully customize your defenses. Just like the game's mobile siege weapons, each defensive platform has its purpose. Ballista bolts, for example, are perfect for taking out direct threats to your walls. But they're also useful against any problematic and heavily armed soldiers that just so happen to be buffing an attacking force, as it steadily chips away at your walls and defences. Fire arrows are best used to thin out enemy forces. By taking aim at tribesmen or auxiliary units, and focusing less on armoured targets that are resistant to missile fire, players can make the most of their hwacha and remove cannon fodder quickly from the battlefield. And last but certainly not least, we have the return of the mangonel. Because after all, it wouldn't be Stronghold without the ability to throw multiple stone projectiles over a short distance, like some kind of massive medieval shotgun.
The mangonel is a form of trebuchet used in the Warring States period of China and then later across Eurasia in the 6th century. It fires a collection of heavy projectiles from a bowl-shaped bucket at the end of its arm.
This cluster of rocks is your middle ground, between the precision of ballista bolts and widespread of a fire arrow volley. Able to damage individual troops and siege weapons alike, if in doubt you can't go wrong with a series of mangonels protecting your castle walls. Just don't expect too much accuracy from these things. The mangonel is, after all, the shotgun blast of siege defences. Short-ranged and packing a serious punch, mangonels can be an excellent last line of castle defence. Use them to knock back attacking troops and blow apart siege towers before they have a chance to dock onto your walls and flood your castle with invaders.
So there we have it. Finally, all 10 siege weapons and 16 units have now been revealed for Stronghold Warlords. Feels like the end of an era. This means, of course, that we are now on the cusp of launch, with January 26th fast approaching and 250,000 wishlists under our belt. And yeah, 250,000 wishlists, that's just, you know, I can't even, I'm basically the blinking white guy meme right now. On that note, if you haven't already wishlisted the game, please do follow the link in the description, go to our store page, hit the wishlist button, and you'll find out exactly when the game comes out, but also of any launch discounts we offer. It's been a huge boost for the team internally, seeing people enjoying the recent demos on Steam, and just working with you guys on stuff like unit aesthetics, UI, mission design, and many, many more aspects of the game. We really do appreciate every YouTube comment, user review on Steam, Discord message, yep, even the big walls of text, and we can't wait to see what you think of the final game on January 26th. You'll also want to stick with us here at Firefly Studios on YouTube for more videos on multiplayer, player requested features, new music previews, and many, many more between now and launch. If you liked today's video, be sure as always to give it a like, but also subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Stronghold and Romans Age of Caesar goodness every month.